Hey guys, it is Thursday, December 6th, 2022. This is amazing. Can you believe it? We are now 6 days into the new year. 6 days. Where has the week gone? It was just Christmas a few days ago. And now we're in Q1 of 2022. I'm Dr. Priscilla. I am a native English speaker, and I'm really happy to be here with you to share some exciting information that I hope will be beneficial to most of you. Many of you already know what I'm going to tell you. Some of you are familiar with what I'm going to tell you, and maybe some of you have no clue as to how to do this thing. So we're going to talk about, yes, on the count of three. One, two, three. We're going to talk about motivation. We're going to talk about motivation. And motivation, sometimes you have to dig down really deep to find it because motivation comes from within. If you're watching me live, please let me know from where you're watching. And I want to first of all say thank you so much for joining me in this live stream. If you can hear me clearly, if you can see me clearly, please type the number 1 if you can see me clearly. Type the number 2 if you can hear me clearly. And then we're going to roll. So thank you so much. Hello, Reem. How are you? Hi, Kilia. And that's a 1. And Reem, can you see me clearly? That would be a number 2 if you can. And Kay Chetty, thank you for joining. This is amazing. I'm going to talk about motivation. I'm going to talk about motivation, and what I'm going to talk about is going to be beneficial to not only English language learners who are my niche people, but anyone whose first language is English. This will be beneficial for you as well. There are several things that I want you to know. One, I'll be going back and forth. My eyes will divert itself over here to read what's in the comment section, and then I'm back to looking into the camera. So now that I know that you can hear me clearly, I'm going to talk about motivation. Oftentimes, people say that they want to do something, especially if they are non-native English speakers. How do I know? I know because I have worked with thousands and thousands of non-native English speakers, and their number one goal is to improve their fluency in speaking English. And this is quite possible because if one person has done it, if one person who is a non-native English speaker can speak English with fluency, so can you. However, it might start with motivation. But you might say, Coach, I've got motivation. I'm motivated. I want to do it. And I've been doing it for 2 weeks and I'm still not fluent. Well, 2 weeks of practice may not be quite enough. It might not be quite enough. I'm not saying that you can't be motivated to do something and be proficient in it, but speaking a language is a skill, such as driving a car, operating your computer, understanding how to use your cell phone. Those are skill sets, and it takes a while to develop those skills. It takes intense focus in order to do that. Now, for those of you who are watching me live, if you have questions, please post them and I will respond to them. But more importantly, know that I see you and I am here to give you some good information about motivation. Now, there was a time when I wasn't always motivated. There are times even today that I'm not motivated, but I can dig deep down in myself, within myself, and find that motivation. It takes a minute, but I can do it. It might mean that I might change in my environment. It might mean that I have to change my appearance. It may mean something as simple as going in the bathroom and brushing my teeth. But I may need to change something to find the motivation. And for me, that motivation comes from that 3-letter word, why. Why am I doing whatever it is that I'm doing? When I can answer the question of the why, personally, I can find the motivation to do it. If my why isn't strong enough, then I'm not going to be motivated to do it. Oftentimes, individuals may feel that motivation is something that comes from another person. No, this is not true. What another person can do is encourage you when you're struggling or you want to do something, but you just can't find the wherewithal to do it. Someone else can help to encourage you, but the motivation to do it has to come from within. And this is what a lot of students struggle with. I mean, again, this is not limited to non-native English speakers, because as I said, I speak English, but I have to dig deep to be motivated. And sometimes, whew, it is a struggle. I consider myself to be on the struggle bus, but I'm really happy that you're here. Reem, what are your thoughts about motivation? What about you, Kay Shetty? What about you, Kay Holder? What are your thoughts about motivation? And again, I'm really happy that you're here. I've been on now for a little over 7 minutes. My topic for tonight is motivation, and I plan to be here approximately a total of 30 minutes to talk about motivation. As I've said, motivation is something that comes from within. Now, what might motivate an individual to do something? It starts out by having a goal. That goal, of course, for me is my why. Earlier this evening, I was in my accountability group. And in my accountability group, we talked about things that we wanted to do in Q1, 2022. I had lots of things that I want to do, but nothing so finite as that everything that I want to do has a beginning date and an end date. If there is no end date, it may never ever get done. If I put an end date, then most likely it will get done. I do have several accountability partners within my group. So before I go to bed tonight, before midnight, there is something that I'm supposed to do, which is complete a form. And I'm openly saying to this live audience that I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And I can say that I have that done. And even though I'm filling out the form, that doesn't mean that everything is going to get done. But I'm going to start small and just do that one thing. Because the one thing that isn't written down, it usually will not get done. Reem says we can create it every day. What I think. That's exactly right, Reem. You can create your own motivation every single day. However, let's add a little caveat to that. When we're adding our motivation and writing it down or creating it every day, let's start with one thing. So, for example, what is one thing, depending upon what time it is for you? If it's early morning, you can start with, what do you wish to accomplish today? One thing. And we're going to dive into how you can set that as a goal and get that accomplished. It doesn't mean that you're going to accomplish this one thing today, but you are going to accomplish this one thing at an end date, whatever date it is. Kay Shetty says, how to motivate children for learning English. That's great, Kay Shetty. Children, it's a little easier actually to motivate children than to motivate growing adults. That's my professional opinion. Why do I say it's easier to motivate children? And let's say that children are between ages 3 to 15. As a parent, the one thing that I saw with my son when he was between the age of 3 and 15, If I was involved in whatever it was that I wanted him to do or have him get motivated with or motivated by, if I showed interest in that one thing, he usually did that thing. But the motivation, whether it's a child or an adult, the motivation has to come from that individual. Otherwise, it just resorts to you are doing the work for them. It may appear that they're doing it, and they may be motivated to do it. But in order for you to know if they're really motivated to do it, they're going to take the bull by the horns, if you will, and they're going to try to do more and more. You're going to be, as the adult or the guide, the person who is going to just observe, ask questions. That's interesting. Why did you do that? What did you think of what happened when this happened? Or something like that. But you're not necessarily doing the work unless it's a safety issue. Reem says, I think have a teacher will help a lot. Absolutely. Absolutely. Having a coach will definitely make the difference. So I'm going to make this large leap in assumption, Reem, that if you were on a job and you do not own the business, you work for someone else, and you don't manage, you have a manager, you have a guide, someone to oversee that the job that you're doing for the company is being done correctly. And a company doesn't operate without a plan. There is expectations that should occur by quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, and quarter four. Thank you, Reem. Yes, I do set up good plans for my students to guide them from point A to point B. Now, when I'm doing this division of labor, if you will, of tasks, I know where you are and where I'm trying to get you to, but I work backwards. And I start small, and incrementally, we reach our little milestones until we get to, voila, you have reached your goal. From there, we set yet another goal. Yeah. So motivation comes from within. This is a great segue as well. In a few days, I am rolling out my beta program, which is owning your voice. Owning your voice simply means don't worry about the way that your accent sounds. If you've listened to me and at least two other native English speakers, I'm almost certain that they did not sound like me. Everyone has their unique sound. What we do have as native English speakers is the capacity to speak English by pronouncing our words properly, correctly, so that you phonetically can hear most of the sounds. That doesn't mean that everyone who speaks English can speak clearly. My voice actually is almost accent free. I live in the South, but most people in the South has a different sound than I do. People in the North are with a different sound as well. What we do try to do when we speak is to speak with clarity and precision. Yes, Reem, I do have a website. I'll post that website for you at the end of tonight's session. But I'd love to invite you to my website. I'd love to invite you to my web page in terms of being able to connect with me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Telegram. I think there are 5 different things that I'm associated with. So when you go to my website, you'll be able to, it was YouTube as you are now. So for those of you who are on YouTube, please be sure to click the bell because I am going to be live for the next 5 days. I'm going live 7 days straight. That is what I have committed myself to do. And I'm holding myself accountable to go live. as well as my accountability group, are going to hold me accountable to go live for 7 days, 7 consecutive days. Speaking of which, if you are already on my YouTube channel, if you find the video about squirrels, there is a fluency challenge that is there. I want to invite you to participate in that 7-day English fluency challenge. And I will give you feedback on what you've done when you go there. And if you come back tomorrow in the live YouTube that I'm doing here, we can talk about that as well. Now, let me tell you a little more about my beta program that is rolling out on January 10th. The program isn't for everyone, but I do have a VIP session. The session for the VIP, it is only for the first 15 people that register. And even though you may register, you need to have a conversation with me to ensure that the program will meet your needs. I don't want to just add people to my program, take your money, and not be able to give you what I promise. So let us have that conversation to see if my program is going to benefit you. And what the program will do is teach you how to own your voice. You will meet with me for 3 months. You will meet 3 times a week. You will be in my private Facebook group. I will be there. Others will be there. And this is where we're going to fine-tune your ability to speak English with fluency. Because it is the beta program, and if anyone knows anything about the beta programs, you are going to get above and beyond the value of the program. So I want to invite you to take a look at that by scheduling a free English consultation with me. That information will be below as well. Now let's go back to motivation. Motivation is something that comes from within yourself. Start with something small. Give me an idea of, I think I had asked, I'm not sure who I asked, something that you want to accomplish in the next, I don't know, the next 7 days. What is something that you'd like to accomplish in the next 7 days? And I will tell you how you can accomplish that. Let me give you the little caveat. It has to be something that is measurable. If it isn't something that is measurable, you will not be able to accomplish it the way that I'm going to teach you in 7 days. So you may ask, what is an example of something that you can do within the next 7 days? 1, you could learn how to use an idiom properly. Or you could learn 2 vocabulary words and how to use 2 vocabulary words properly. 3, you could learn how to use a phrasal verb properly. 4, you can learn how to use a transitional phrase properly. Now, obviously, if you are not aware of what those things are that I just said, your challenge is going to be even more difficult. But you could say, this is what you want to learn more about. You want to learn more about slang, phrasal verbs, transitional phrases, or vocabulary. So I'm going to look and see if anyone wants to put something in the chat that you would like to be able to do within the next 7 days. What I will typically do is create a YouTube training video just for you. And with that YouTube video, and of course, I'm here to guide you. I'm your coach, guide you in actually accomplishing that goal in 7 days. Does that mean that within 7 days, if you wanted to use a vocabulary word, okay, Kay Shetty has put down, what is a transitional phrase? Transitional phrase, transitional is transitional, transitional phrase. A transitional phrase is a word that comes before you talk about a different statement. Tonight, I started out talking about what is motivation. Okay, that was my topic. However, I told you about my beta program. So you see how I went from talking about motivation and mentioned my beta program. The however is my transitional phrase. All right. Does that make it clear for you, Kay Shetty? What is a transitional phrase? However, it's what makes it transitional. For this reason is a transitional phrase. Furthermore is a transition word. In the meanwhile, that's 3 words. That's a transitional phrase. Furthermore is a transitional word. Let me know if that makes sense to you, Kay Shetty. Reem asks, can I say I want to learn part 2 for IELTS? You could say that you want to learn part 2 for IELTS, but it has to be a little more specific for 7 days. For example, you might need to understand what it is that they want you to do in part 2. And a good example would be, how can I respond within 2 minutes, because you have between 1 to 2 minutes to speak on a topic that the IELTS examiner has given you. You will need to be able to speak for 2 minutes. Now, I can teach you how to speak for 2 minutes. The struggle or your challenge would be how to speak with fluency for 2 minutes on the given topic. The easy part would be to be able to speak for 2 minutes. So I would suggest that you be able to speak about anything that you like. So give me an example of something that you really enjoy doing. Reem, type in the chat something that you really enjoy doing. Tell me something that you really enjoy doing. And I'll explain further. I can't believe that we are now 22 minutes into the half hour. So I may have an opportunity to share with Reem how to talk for 2 minutes about a topic. But tell me something that you really... So Reem, you really enjoy reading? Okay. So I need you to answer as quickly as possible. Why do you enjoy reading? Why do you enjoy reading? Why? Tell me, Reem, why do you enjoy reading? Now, it's fine that it's taking you that long to respond, but if it's taking you that long to respond, or maybe I just need to scroll down to see. No, if it's taking you that long to respond to why you enjoy reading, we have a bigger concern than the fact that you enjoy reading. I'm still waiting for why do you enjoy reading? Okay, I like to learn new things. What did you learn from the last book that you read? Quickly tell me, what did you learn from the last book that you read? Tell me, you should be able to tell me that in 10 seconds. What did you learn from the last book that you read? You need to be a little faster with your responses, because I want to help you and show you how you're going to be able to do this. And this is, you're doing this without even having the examiner. So 2 minutes will have already passed when you haven't responded. How to contact with God. Okay, so you learn how to contact with God. Okay. When did you learn that? You learn how to do that one thing by reading. You learn how to contact with God. And that's fine. That's fine that you have that way. Hey, Ryan, are you awake at this time? I think it should be 7:30 in the morning, but I think you're out of school. Well, I'm happy that you're here. All right, so you learn how to contact with God. Now, the next question is, who gave you the book that you're reading? Who gave you the last book that you're reading? Mohammed, who gave you the last book that you're reading? Who gave you the last book that you were reading? Okay, your sister. All right, so now what I'm going to do, that's enough questions for me to answer for you, Reem, what it looks like to speak for 2 minutes. I will tell you that because it took you several seconds just to put in the answer, maybe because it's a small phone that you're trying to type the answers into, I'm not really sure. But I'm looking at a who, what, when, where, why, and how. Now, the examiner may ask you, what is the last book that you've read? And you will say something like this. The last book that I read was a book given to me by my sister. I found this book amazingly interesting because it talked about how to connect or contact God. While reading the book, I was able to learn many new things. For example, I learned that I needed to pay close attention to how I spent my day. Another thing that was important, I needed to focus on how to praise and worship appropriately. There are several things that I learned that I needed to do to praise and worship appropriately. More importantly, this book has been handed down to me from my sister, and I can give this sister to my children as time goes on. So that is just 1 minute. I didn't get to ask you about the when and the where. So when you learn the format of formulating your response, that will teach you how to gauge your 2 minutes. It isn't sufficient to be able to talk for 2 minutes. You still need to do more than that. You'll need to introduce transitional phrases. You'll need to introduce academic vocabulary and an idiom during the discourse of the conversation. So that to me would probably be too big of a goal for you with the IELTS, but you could learn how to use transitional phrases, which are important in part 2 of the IELTS. I hope that that is good for you. But again, I want to say that for those of you who would like to have the opportunity to speak with me for the beta program that will launch on January 15th, the deadline for the VIP members is January 10th. I will post that information below, and I hope that if you believe that this program will be beneficial to you, that you will schedule an appointment, and we'll have that free English consultation to see how I can help you get from point A to point B. All right. Yes, I did. So earlier today, I did a class with Ryan, and Ryan says, you did a class with me. And Ryan is a marvelous student. Ryan is someone who learns very quickly. Ryan is 8 years of age, and the vocabulary words that Ryan is able to use, not just know the words, but he's able to use them. We have trial, jury, stand, and quite a few other words that, as he retold his story, it was his responsibility to use at least 4 of the 8 vocabulary words that was in the story. He was able to use 4, but I think if I had asked him to use all 8 of them, he would have been able to do that as well. Bye, Kay Chetri. I am ending the live stream as well in about 30 seconds. Thank you, Reem, for showing up. Thank you, Kay Holder, for being here. Ryan, it's good to see you. We will speak again in about 9 or 10 hours, Ryan. So I look forward to speaking with you then. Until next time, I'm Dr. Priscilla, a native English speaker, and I live in the US. Please like and share this YouTube video, and we'll talk again. Bye for now.